Hello and hi. When I was first thinking of what games that I wanted to play on this channel, I knew that I wanted to focus on retro gaming, specifically within the 90s and 2000s era, which is crazy to think it's retro now, but it is. The internet was born within the 90s for worldwide use and really started expanding within the 2000s. During that time, there were specific games catered that were one of the first kind of web games. And of course, back in my day, I would play tons of them, especially the girly ones. Back in 2000, there was a doll line as well as a set of games to go along with the doll line named Diva Starz. And although I never had the dolls myself, which now, in retrospect, is probably a great thing because uncanny robots over here. I wanted it as a child, never got them. Also wanted Furbies as a child. Really glad I never got those.
Diva Starz! No other doll does the things we do. Diva Starz talks to you. There's my hat. Coffee.
The doll line ran from 2000 until they were discontinued in 2004, which is pretty short-lived, but the highlight for me wasn't the dolls,
At divastars.com, you can explore
but the website and web games as featured in this commercial even. And yes, there was a PC game as well that I do want to focus on in a future episode. But besides the PC game that came out in 2000, there was a series of webisodes which were also games. This was something that was common at the time. A lot of sites would develop these web games slash webisodes to help advertise for their product lines. So in the case of Barbie and Bratz and Diva Starz, they all had their set of games and a story that would basically show off the personalities of said characters, which of course would go back into capitalizing on enticing young girls like moi to want to buy the dolls. And it was that cycle that you would always follow, that cycle, a pattern. If this doesn't give you a time capsule approach of what girlhood was like in the early Y2K era, I don't know what else will.
What's up? I'm Nikki, sports fan to the max. Hey girl, I'm Tia, hip cool chick and a techno whiz.
When you first logged onto the website, this would be the front page you were greeted by. You could then go into each of the characters' bedrooms and get more information on all their personalities.
Welcome to Shay Alexa.
Alexa was the McBling, as is considered now, girl of the group. She loves fashion, anything pink, definitely a little bit of a bimbo stereotype girls fall into. Also remember, bimbo is a good term now.
A bimbo isn't dumb. I mean, she kind of is, but she isn't that dumb. She's actually a radical leftist who's pro-sex work, pro-Black Lives Matter, pro-LGBTQ, pro-choice, and will always be there for her girls, gays, and nays.
I love the outdoors so much, I bring it inside.
Summer was a hippie girl of the group. She loves animals and helping the environment, and clearly you can see the 60s/70s influence with her design.
Go ahead, say it. This room is the bomb.
Tia was all about tech and electronics, and I always appreciated that personality choice for her, but I really wish they would have went full-on rave girl with her.
This is it. Hope you're into sports.
Finally, Nikki was the sporty chick of the group. At the time, extreme sports like skateboarding were huge, and it was always fun to see these girly doll lines capitalizing on it. And yes, my favorite is Summer. Even from a young age, I was always drawn to the flower power hippie era. Another one of my favorite characters, unrelated but still at the same time, was Bubbles. So if that doesn't tell you that I always loved being a hippie dippy girl growing up, I don't know what else will. And then I turned into an emo goth obsessed horror chick. Diversity. The girls also had these micro mini games that you could click on through their bedrooms. Summer had a create your own fish tank game.
Check it out. This girl wants to have some fun.
Tia had this mini music maker game. Nikki had the Simon Says type of skateboard game, and Alexa had a game involving her diary, I think. I wasn't able to get that one open to see what it actually was. So as of today, apparently there was 14 webisodes slash mini games that were available throughout the divastars.com website. those are not all found. There are some that are lost media. So apparently there are 9 found that we are going to review, and there's still 5 missing. The first several episodes are your standard affair. You get to meet the characters. The games, if you even want to call them that, are just very simple drag and point to figure out what their personalities are, and it just gives you a good standard of, hey, these are these characters and you can buy this product and relate to them. The first episode was entitled Meet Us at the Mall, and it shows the origin of these 4 unique girls running into each other at the mall, and that's how they met. Self-explanatory.
Once there were girls,
The game itself focuses on you dragging their pieces that fell out of each of the girls' bags to match their personalities. It's only about a minute long, but it's a simple, critical thinking game for young girls, and it gives an understanding of the characters. Plus, I believe the intention would be that they expected kids to play multiple rounds and multiple games on the site through one sitting. At least that's what I did. It's much more enjoyable to run through all the episodes together because you can think of these as mini games as different levels and activities. Did anyone even talk like that? I know slang was always unique, especially in the Y2K era, but I never heard anyone talk like that. It's like making fetch happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. The second webisode is one that I remember the most clearly. It's a fashion show, and it's your basic dress-up game. There's several different outfits, shoes, accessories, and hair you can pick for each of the girls, and it's just so groove-o-matic to see once again how much 60s and 70s influence there was on the time period. Between Alexa's outfits having a mod option, I mean, look at that hair. And all of Summer's options. I always love the shoes too. That's probably why I'm a fan of Demonia's now and have several pairs. Tia's outfits fit more into the cyberpunk Y2K style, and again, would have loved to have seen more rave influence on her. And then once again, Nikki is last, and I feel like her options are more of a mixture of the trendy fashion of the 2000s, very inspired by JLo, for example. The catwalk goes by way too fast. They only show off their outfits for a second. One more thing to highlight though was that this was the first mention of their PC game at the end, so I do believe it's some nice cross promotion for all their products. Well, episode 3 is they're a band now. These girls literally do everything. Gotta cover all the markets after all. You drag their instruments to the right girl, and then they make sure they're all in tune before they perform. Between episode 3 and episode 9, which is the next episode that was found, since there are the clunk of those missing still.
I just don't get it. What's the point of taking a ski vacation if you stay inside?
Alexa's fine. She's just happy she has a chance to show off her new threads.
Yeah, inside the lodge.
What is this animation? I understand in 2000 computers were much more limited, very limited back then, but it's hilarious looking back at this in retrospect and seeing that anyone with any editing experience could do that in seconds.
I love snowboarding.
The girls are at a ski resort and going snowboarding. I also think it's funny because in reality, these 4 girls all have distinct personalities, so the likelihood of them liking the same guy seems impossible. Anyways, you choose your girl to go snowboarding with to impress this random dude, and make sure to avoid the obstacles. This is probably one of the first real games to play compared to just dragging objects over to a girl. But yeah, that's right, Alexa, I stole your man. What you gonna do about it? There's just something about these games, especially these girl games, that just bring out the inner bitch. You can see the art style really change between these webisodes.
How you doing?
Tony's so dreamadelic. Don't you wish we could meet him?
I don't remember these webisodes as much as I remembered the earlier ones, but looking back at it now, it's very obvious that it was a Friends parody. The gameplay, of course, is decorating the apartment with a few limited options.
Okay, people, let's do this. Bring in the actors. Whoa, the new set is so cool.
Press the whole scene one, take one. And action.
Russ, did you invite those girls to BB's birthday party?
No, they're cute. Girls, how you doing?
It's so obvious now, but if I did play it back then, I was a stupid little kid and completely missed any reference at all. I also didn't watch Friends at that age, so that's another reason that I would not know about it, but wow, it's obvious. Again, the doll line catered to girls probably, you know, between 7 to 12, and at the time, Friends was for what I thought would be the older crowd. At least, like, you know, teenagers to adults that were watching it. So I don't know if they were trying to cater to the parents or if they thought that kids actually knew what Friends was. Episode 11 is the obligatory vacation storyline where they all go to Hawaii and you make them dance. That's it. That's the game. And yes, of course I picked Summer. I will always pick Summer. You also could apparently send an e-card, which is cute. Clearly it doesn't work now, but I do love that they still recognize the quote-unquote naughty words. From what I've noticed, when I'm looking back and rewatching a lot of these shows and different media videos and things, the first couple episodes or season is very grounded and it showcases more of an everyday life that any girl can relate to. But then once you start getting into it and the characters are established, they start having crazier and wild episodes where a lot of things are not realistic and they don't make sense. It does go into fantasy territory, and don't get me wrong, I mean, everyone has their fantasies. I definitely do. There's been so many times that I've dreamt about meeting Tom Hiddleston or Christian Borle in New York, either at stage door or at a gala party, and striking up a conversation with them. They've invited me to go out and meet them at a bar and we can become friends. And then more continues, but those are still a little bit more realistic in terms of the fact that I live near New York and everything else is just, you know, manifest that.
I've got an idea.
You, come with me.
Who? Us? Are we in trouble? What'd we do?
I need one more, and you, follow me.
I can't believe we're backstage.
And yes, I know this was for kids' fantasy, and clearly I didn't think anything of it at the time, and it was just set up for the mini game. But it, retrospectively now, it's hilarious because it doesn't make sense. So yes, they're at a concert seeing the singer called Samantha, but she doesn't have any backup dancers and picks them out of the crowd. The gameplay is basically the same as the last one. You choose what dance moves you'll do.
How's everybody doing tonight? I'd like to introduce my backup singers, the Diva Starz. Hit it, girls!
This would never happen, but there you go. Now the Diva Starz are a girl group. What can't they do?
Everyone knows. Fashion and style. Friends are so cool.
These characters are so interesting, and I think any characters within these doll lines are so interesting because they don't say what their age is, but because they're all driving, they have to be at least 16 or 17 years old. So it understands, you know, these are characters and personalities that these young girls they're catering to. Obviously, I was included in that realm since I played the games all the time. These are characters that you want to look up to and be like, oh, they're cool, I want to be like them. Case in point, my favorite was Summer. I love that we all had favorites. And if you had a favorite too, also let me know below because I'm curious if there was a popularity in these girls. And at this point too, they also kicked Summer out. And I'm so sad because again, my favorite. I never had the dolls, but still my favorite character. So the fact that they kicked her out for this other wannabe blonde girl that had some colored hair, I feel like her and Alexa were very similar to each other, and she was more like the funky, edgy version of Alexa in a way, me having beef over these like obscure characters.
Fashionland, here we come! I wonder what wild and wacky things we're gonna see today.
Yeah, I can't wait to be super outrageous.
No doubt! Which ride should we go on first?
Let's look at the map!
The final 2 episodes are back to being more grounded in reality with episode 13. The Diva Stars are at Fashionland Amusement Park, but the game is really silly because you pick which ride they're going to go on. Who goes on rides by themselves if they're in a group together? That's where my suspension of disbelief ends. Otherwise, it's a really cute little mini game.
Whoa, check out the birds.
And it's nice seeing the different outcomes they have. Final episode is also one I remember very well. They have to go shopping for new outfits since they've outgrown the rest of their old clothes.
I'll tell you what's up. My headlines. Mine too. My overalls are super small. My favorite dress is a total mess.
Girl, I thought my clothes shrunk in the wash. Until I realized it was my whole closet.
What happened to us over the summer?
We grew!
It's nice since this is the biggest selection of clothes you can choose from, but you still have to give them something they like compared to the other dress-up games where you just pick what you like. Even though there is very little substance to these games, they were still so much fun to play, and that's one thing I really miss about these Flash games, and just the simplicity of being able to chill and click on point on things. I loved the dress-up games. I played hours of dress-up games, and I think that also is partly why I'm probably so much into fashion, especially subculture fashion. And of course these pieces of clothing were obviously catered to the time. It's so interesting to be able to use this as a historical reference because you get to go back and see what people were into. The one thing I love is that you can go back and see where the inspirations, where did they come from, and how did they become the pieces and the trends that we followed. There were also a few games I found separate from the webisodes. All of these games were focused on their pets. In this game, you could pick between Nikki and Alexa and collect specific objects around their house. They also had 2 separate games for each of their respective pets. Alexa's cat Fluffy had a makeover game, and Nikki's dog Budster, you could redecorate his doghouse. Tia also had her own game for her dog Hippie, short for hipster, back when hipster meant a completely different thing, where you had to make sure a hippie is getting all the good traits and not garbage. Ma'am, what are you feeding this dog? He's gonna die regardless. Summer's rabbit Sunny had its own game as well, which was a Pac-Man clone, where he's eating carrots, and honestly, I played this one the longest. I'm not sure how many levels are in this game because I quit after I got to level 10, but this is definitely one of the games that has the most and longest playability. Finally, the other game, quote unquote, I found was this magazine editor, where it was much more limited choices to add to create your own Coolorama zine. Let's just add in my Superfly guy right here. I'm sorry, I'm so unhinged. I promise I'm normal. Even going back and playing all these games so I could get footage for it, I spent an hour just relaxing and chilling out. And of course, this is all now replaced by a lot of mobile games, but the great thing was you could play these games back in the day without the bombardment of advertisements every 5 seconds for a mobile game if you don't want to pay money for it. Of course, it is different because these were catered to kids, so they would want to buy the advertisement of the product, but it was better because you knew going on to these sites, hey, this is a Barbie product, hey, these are Diva Stars, and so you were getting involved into the world, but that was it. And I think a lot of companies are missing that, where they were able to have more establishment on a specific product and cater that way, instead of the billions of jillions of ads that you get now of products that aren't related to what you're even looking for. It's such an interesting topic, and I definitely want to focus more on this in the future, but it's just interesting to look back and see what things were like, relive a little bit, and heal more of your childhood. And I just miss how the internet used to be. I know a lot of people say that, especially when you talk to older people, and yes, it was slower, but it was so much nicer because it wasn't completely fulfilled by capitalism and advertisements. Yeah, there was pop-ups if you went onto random sites, but as a child of the time, it was a good escape and you were still in your own little world. And that's what I miss. So all in all, I hope you have a really groove-tastic day. And oh, there was so much 60s influence in it. There was so much 60s and 70s influence in it. And something that people still don't talk about enough, like I said. I hope you have a very cool Rama day, and I'll see you in the next one.